Here's a man who promises a woman his last living son, waits years, never delivers, and then when she takes matters into her own hands, orders her burned alive for immorality. Bold move, especially since he was the immorality. She doesn't argue, she doesn't cry, she just sends him 3 items and 1 sentence, and watches the most powerful man in her life stand in front of everyone and admit out loud that she was right and he was wrong the entire time. Her name is Tamar. His name is Judah. Yes, that Judah, the one an entire tribe and eventually a whole royal bloodline gets named after. And this is the story of how his own daughter-in-law outsmarted him so completely he had to publicly humble himself, using his own personal belongings as the evidence. Grab a seat. Judah is about to have the worst week of his life, and he brought it entirely on himself. Judah marries Tamar off to his oldest son, Great start, except the Bible describes in one blunt sentence. He was wicked in the sight of the Lord, so God put him to death. No details given, just gone. Efficient, brutal, no further explanation needed. Now, under the custom of the time, if a woman's husband dies without children, the next brother is supposed to step in and give her an heir in the dead man's name. That falls to Onan, son number 2. Onan technically goes along with the arrangement, but makes absolutely sure nothing comes of it, because any child would legally count as his dead brother's, not his own. God is once again not thrilled about this, and Onan dies too. So Judah's now down 2 sons, and Tamar is 0 for 2 on husbands who somehow keep dying around her. Judah looks at his last son, Shelah, does some quick math, and decides, nope, not risking a 3rd funeral. He tells Tamar to go wait at her father's house until Shelah's grown up enough to marry her. Spottler, he has 0 intention of ever sending for her. He's basically ghosting his own daughter-in-law and hoping she just doesn't notice. She notices. Years go by. Shelah grows up. Judah does not send for Tamar. Not a message, not an update, nothing. Meanwhile, Tamar is stuck. Can't remarry anyone else, can't move on, technically still tied to a family that's clearly done with her, just sitting in her father's house getting older while Judah conveniently forgets she exists. Then, Judah's own wife dies. He mourns for a bit, and once that's done, he heads out to Timnah for sheep shearing season, which back then was basically a festival. Big gathering, lots of drinking, lots of celebrating. Tamar hears he's on the move, and that's when she stops waiting for justice to be handed to her and decides to go get it herself. Tamar takes off her widow's clothes, covers herself with a veil so she can't be recognized, and sits down at the entrance to a town Judah is guaranteed to pass through. Judah sees her, doesn't recognize his own daughter-in-law, because, let's be honest, he clearly wasn't paying that much attention to her existence to begin with, assumes she's a prostitute, and proposes her. Here's where Tamar's plan becomes genuinely brilliant. She doesn't ask for payment up front. She asks for collateral, specifically his personal seal, his cord, and his staff. In the ancient world, that's basically asking a man for his driver's license, his credit card, and his signature all at once. These are the exact items that identify him personally as Judah. He agrees, probably because at this particular moment, thinking clearly is not his top priority, hands them over, and leaves. He tries to send payment later through a friend to get his items back quietly. The friend can't find her anywhere because, of course he can't, the prostitute at the roadside was never real to begin with. Judah shrugs it off, tells his friend to just let it go before people start talking. He genuinely thinks this is over. It is extremely not over. About 3 months later, word reaches Judah. Tamar is pregnant, and since she's technically still tied to his family, this looks, to him, like a scandal, an embarrassment, a stain on his name. His response is immediate and dripping with irony he clearly cannot see yet. Bring her out and burn her. The man who forgot to send his own son to marry her, who let her rot in limbo for years, who slept with a stranger at the roadside without a second thought, this same man is now demanding the death penalty for what he assumes is her immorality. Then Tamar sends her move. Not a defense, not pleading. She sends the seal, the cord, and the staff, along with one line. The man who owns these is the father of my child. See if you recognize them. Judah recognizes them immediately. They're Hiv. There's no wiggle room, no ambiguity, no way to spin this. And in front of everyone, he has to say the sentence that ends the entire confrontation. She is more righteous than I, because I did not give her to my son Shelah. He doesn't get to punish her. He gets exposed by his own belongings in front of witnesses, using evidence he personally handed over. She never has to argue her case. She just has to hand him the truth and let him convict himself. Here's what actually sits underneath this whole story, once you stop laughing at Judah's spectacular own goal. Tamar wasn't in the wrong for wanting what she was legally and rightfully owed. Judah was in the wrong for making promises he had no intention of keeping and then trying to punish someone else for the consequences of his own broken word. That's the pattern to actually notice. It's easy to demand accountability from other people while quietly excusing yourself from the exact same standard. And there's something almost poetic in how this story resolves. Tamar isn't rescued by an angel, a miracle, or a sudden change of heart from Judah. She's vindicated because she kept the receipts, literally. The truth doesn't need shouting, it just needs to be undeniable when it finally shows up. Her twin sons, Perez and Zerah, end up woven directly into the family line that lead to King David and eventually to Jesus. A woman written off, ghosted, and nearly executed becomes a permanent thread in the most important bloodline in the entire Bible. Lord, thank you for being a God who sees what's hidden and brings the truth into the light in your own time. Help us to keep our word to the people who are counting on us and to have the humility to admit it, like Judah eventually did, when we've been wrong. Give us Tamar's patience and spare us from being anyone's Judah. Amen. A broken promise, 3 items handed over without a second thought, and 1 sentence that ends an entire cover-up. Judah thought he was the one holding all the power in this story. He wasn't even close. If you want more stories like this, the ones where the villain gets outsmarted by the person he underestimated most, subscribe, hit the bell, and tell me in the comments who to dig up next. See you in the next one.